The long road back. Chapter 1. A different kind of storm. The storm didn't bother her. That was the first thing I noticed. The wind drove in from the Gulf, sharp and wild, pushing the rain sideways across the sand. She stepped out of the cab as though the world were perfectly calm, as though she'd been expecting this exact kind of weather. Her coat was soaked through, but she kept her chin lifted and her eyes steady, like someone who had outlasted worse storms. She saw the house, then me, standing under the veranda where the wood sagged a little in the middle. Even through the rain, she gave me that look, calm, direct, unafraid. It hit harder than the wind. It always had. She set her suitcase down and brushed her hair from her face. Then she called out over the storm, "You still drink your coffee too slow." Her voice was firm, warm, familiar. A voice the storm seemed to recognize. I stepped forward, letting the rain reach me. "You still show up without warning." She gave me a small smile. Not wide, not sweet, but real. A smile folded with history. Also trouble. "I figured you'd open the door anyway. I haven't changed that much." "No," she said. "You haven't." She reached for her suitcase and failed to get a grip. The handle slipped from her fingers. I crossed the few steps between us and picked it up before she tried again. Her hand brushed mine, cold as the rain. She didn't pull away. "You look tired," I said. "So do you." "Fair enough." We walked inside. The house swallowed the storm behind us, but you could still hear the wind pressing against the windows, insisting on being part of things. I set her suitcase down in the hall. She stood there, dripping rainwater onto the old floorboards, taking in the walls and the shadows as though measuring what had changed and what had refused to. "It's smaller than I remember," she said. "You're older than you were." She shot me a look, half warning, half amusement. "You haven't lost your charm." "I did. Years ago. You were there when it happened." She let out a quiet breath, not quite laughter. "Maybe." We moved toward the kitchen, where the light was soft and golden. The storm gave the room a warmth I hadn't noticed earlier. I poured her coffee, knowing she would refuse it at first. She always did. "I'm not cold," she said, though her hands trembled. "Didn't say you were." She sat at the table, leaning back, studying me the way she used to study maps, looking for dangers, for safe harbor, for missing pieces. I didn't sit. I stayed by the counter, giving her the space she'd carved out the moment she stepped back into this house. "You want to tell me why you're here?" I asked. "Not yet." "You planning to?" "Yes," she said. "Just not yet." The rain thickened outside. It swept across the roof in waves, steady and insistent. She reached for the coffee after all and wrapped both hands around the mug, drawing warmth from it. "My father's gone," she said. I nodded. "I heard. He left me the house." "I didn't expect that." "I'm not surprised." "Why not?" "He loved you in the way men love dusted-off memories. Too much to let them go. Not enough to take care of them." She took a long sip, staring into the dark liquid. "I thought I'd feel something more." "You do. You're just not ready to name it." She exhaled, slow and heavy. "It's been a long trip." "You drove?" "Bus." "You? A bus?" "Don't start," she said, though her tone held something like gratitude. "I can't be in the air anymore. You used to like it. I used to be someone else." She placed the mug down with a soft clink. Her shoulders dropped, the first sign that she wasn't here just to talk about her father. "There's more," I said. "There's always more. Tell me." She shook her head. "You're going to need patience. I've had 12 years of it." Her eyes flicked up. Something moved there, fear or guilt or something deeper that she didn't want me to see. She stood, restless suddenly, and walked toward the window. The rain chased itself down the glass like it was trying to enter the room. "I didn't come here to ask for anything," she said. "You never did." "I mean it." "So do I." She pressed her fingertips against the cold pane. "I just needed a place where the noise doesn't follow me." "What noise?" "The kind you can't hear," she said. "But you feel it. All the time." I stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough so she wouldn't think she was speaking into the empty kitchen. "Someone after you?" "No." "Something you did?" "Yes." She kept her eyes on the storm. Her voice softened until it was almost a whisper. "I made a mistake." "What kind?" "The dangerous kind." I felt a tightening in my chest. The house, for all its creaks and leaks, suddenly felt smaller. "You're safe here," I said. "You don't know that." "I don't have to." "You're here, aren't you? You chose this place. You chose me." She closed her eyes. "I didn't want to." "Then why did you?" She opened her eyes again. There was something raw in them now, something unscripted. Because you were the last person I ruined, she said. And the only one who forgave me. The words cut clean. They should have hurt more than they did. But pain, after a while, becomes a language you can understand without flinching. I forgave you, I said, because you never asked me to. She pressed her palm flat against the glass, as though trying to push the storm away or hold it steady. I don't deserve that. Not then. Not now. Doesn't matter, I said. You still have it. For the first time since she arrived, her expression broke. Not fully, just enough for the weight she carried to show through. She turned from the window slowly, as if peeling herself away from the storm. I need a room. Yours is ready. You kept it? She asked, startled. It wasn't mine to give away. She stared at me, and something unreadable passed across her face. Gratitude. Confusion. Maybe an old ache waking up. Without another word, she picked up her suitcase from the hall. She carried herself like she was holding her breath, afraid the house or the memories or I might collapse under the weight of her return. At her old door, she paused. Will you be here later? She asked quietly. I'm not going anywhere. She nodded once and entered the room. The door closed with a soft click, but it felt loud in the stillness left behind. The storm continued its steady, relentless beating against the roof. The sky darkened to a deeper shade of bruised violet, and the air hummed with something electric and unresolved. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to the storm and to the silence in the house. Both had changed. Both were waiting. Whatever she had brought back with her, whatever mistake, whatever danger, whatever truth she wasn't ready to speak, it was already here. It had come in with her, wrapped in the rain. And I knew, as sure as I knew my own name, that by the time this storm passed, neither of us would be the same. Chapter 2. What the Night Remembers. The storm eased by early evening. Not enough to call it calm, but enough that the wind lost its bite. The house settled into a quieter kind of tension, the kind that comes after a long argument where nothing has been resolved. I lit a lamp in the living room and waited. I didn't know what she was doing in her old room, and I didn't ask. Some doors you let stay closed until the person behind them decides otherwise. When she finally came out, she moved like she had borrowed her strength from a thin thread of sleep. Her hair was still damp, pulled back loosely. She wore one of her old sweaters, the gray one she used to steal from me. It hung on her differently now, softer somehow, as if it recognized her and didn't want to let go. You found it, I said. She looked down at herself. It was in the drawer. It always was. She walked to the fireplace and held her hands toward the low flame I'd coaxed to life. Her profile in the firelight struck me with a quiet ache. Older, a little harder, but still her. How long was I gone? She asked. 12 years. I know the number. I meant the feeling. Longer, I said. Much longer. She didn't respond to that, but something in her shoulders tightened in recognition. She rubbed her palms together as though trying to chase out a lingering chill. Do you want anything to eat? I asked. I'm not hungry. You said that earlier. And I meant it. You're doing that thing again. She glanced over. What thing? Holding yourself together so tightly you're afraid something will slip out. She let out a small sigh. Maybe. No maybe about it. She turned away from the fire, crossed her arms, then dropped them again, unable to settle. We shouldn't dig into it tonight, she said. It's been a long day. It's been 12 long years, I said. One more night won't make it easier. She looked tired, but not defeated. I'm trying. I know. Do you? Better than anyone. She eased into the armchair near the window, the one with the old cushion she used to complain about. She sank into it like someone who had run out of places to stand. Outside, the rain tapped at the glass with steady fingers. She watched it, quiet, thoughtful. The kind of quiet that carries weight. Tell me what you've been doing, she said. You're avoiding your part. Maybe, but you can give me something first. She had always negotiated that way, slowly, deftly. I sat across from her, elbows on my knees, hands clasped. I've been here, I said, working the docks, doing odd repairs, keeping the house from falling apart. Not much more. You always liked simple things, she said. They don't break as easily. Everything breaks, she murmured. Even simple things. She pulled her legs up under her and rested her chin on her knee. It was a posture I remembered well, one that meant she was thinking of something she didn't want to say. What about you? I asked. She hesitated. I don't know where to start. Start with the part that hurts least. That part doesn't exist. Then pick one. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a soft, almost nervous motion. Her voice dropped. I left the city, she said. Left quick. Too quick. Left everything behind because staying wasn't an option. What changed? People, she said. People I trusted. People I shouldn't have. People who trusted me and shouldn't have either. That's vague. That's intentional. She lifted her eyes to mine, and the storm outside felt small compared to whatever lived behind them. I don't want to bring trouble into your home, she said. You already did. She flinched. I know. Doesn't mean I want you gone. Her breath caught. She wasn't expecting that. You should, she whispered. You should want that. Wanting things isn't one of my strengths. It used to be. It was painful. She looked down. Yes, it was. The fire cracked softly. A log shifted, sending sparks up the chimney. She stared into the flame as if it held an answer she wasn't ready to face. Tell me what happened, I said. She shook her head. Not tonight. You think tomorrow will make it easier? No, she said. But tonight I'm still deciding what to keep to myself. Her honesty hit harder than anything else she could have said. Fair enough, I said. She stretched out her legs, the sweater sleeves falling past her wrists. She pulled them back absent-mindedly, a small gesture that carried a whole history with it. Do you feel strange with me here? She asked. Yes. Why? Because you left. And you stayed. Someone had to. She closed her eyes for a moment, as though steadying herself. Does it make you angry? Not in the way you think. In what way, then? In the way where I don't know what you want from me yet. She opened her eyes again. They were clearer than they'd been all day. Maybe I don't know either. That doesn't help. I'm sorry, she said softly. Don't apologize unless you mean it. I mean it, she whispered. The room went still. Not silent, just still. The kind of stillness that comes when two people finally stop pretending. Then she shifted forward in her seat. Are you seeing anyone? She asked. It was not the question I expected. No, I said. Why not? I already told you. I don't want much. Maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't ask questions you don't want answered. She sat back. Fair. What about you? I asked. She blinked once, slow. No. Because you can't or because you won't. Both, she said. Mostly both. She stood suddenly, restless again. She moved toward the bookshelf, touching the spines lightly as she passed. Books she'd once read here. Books she'd bought. Books she had left behind without looking back. I forgot how quiet this place gets, she said. You used to like that. I used to like a lot of things. Tell me one, I challenged. She traced her fingers along a cracked leather spine. I like mornings here. The sound of you making coffee. The ocean before people showed up. And now everything feels louder. It'll quiet down. Will it? It always does. She looked at me, uncertain, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen since we were younger. You don't know what I'm bringing with me, she said. You think that scares me? It should. I've been scared before. This is different. She turned away again. Her shoulders rose with a tight breath. When she spoke, her voice was barely a thread. They're looking for me. My heart kicked once hard. Who? She shook her head. Not yet. You can't just. Please, she said, turning around. Not tonight. Not all at once. She wasn't pleading. She was breaking. And there was a difference. I exhaled slowly. All right. Her posture loosened. A small mercy, but a real one. She walked toward the hallway, stopping just short of it. Thank you, she said. For what? For not pushing. I'll push tomorrow. A faint, cracked smile. I know. She turned to go, but paused again. One more thing, she said. Yes. If they come here, you don't owe me anything. Not anymore. A coldness settled in my stomach. That's not your call. It is, she said softly. It has to be. Then she slipped into the hallway and disappeared into the dark, leaving me alone with the fire, the storm, and the quiet echo of something dangerous. Something already coming. Something she didn't have the strength to say out loud yet. I sat there long after her door closed, listening to the house breathe, listening to the rain begin its slow retreat. Tomorrow, she would speak. Tomorrow, the truth would come with its teeth bared, and whatever waited behind it was already on its way. Chapter 3. The Shape of the Truth. I woke before the sun. The house was quiet in that particular way it only gets after storms, soft, expectant, like the world is holding its breath. I made coffee and listened for movement down the hall, but her door stayed closed. She was never a late sleeper. Restlessness had always been her closest companion. When she finally stepped into the kitchen, I knew she had slept badly. Her eyes told that story. The sweater hung on her like someone else's skin. She offered a quiet morning, as if the word might break if said too loudly. "You sleep?" I asked. "A little. Bad dreams. Just memories wearing different masks." She sat across from me, fingers tapping the mug I'd already set out for her. Her hands weren't steady, not the jitter of nerves, more the tremor of bracing for something she didn't want to say. "You ready?" I asked. "No," she said, "but I'm tired of choosing not to be." The wind outside was gentle now, only a whisper against the house. She wrapped her hands around the mug and breathed in the steam like it might give her courage. "It started with a job," she said. "Of course it did. Don't make it sound small. I'm not. Jobs ruin people every day." She gave a strained smile. "This one tried." She took a sip, set the cup down, and leaned back. Her voice steadied. "I worked for a man named Vance. He had money, connections, and a habit of moving through rooms like he owned the air inside them. People trusted him because he was charming. But charm is just pressure dressed nicely. What did he want from you?" "Information," she said. "The kind people don't want shared. Not dangerous at first. Just ugly. And you gave it to him?" "At the beginning. And later." She paused. "Later, I realized the things I was gathering were hurting people who didn't deserve it. People who didn't even know his name." "Why didn't you leave then?" "Because I was good at it," she said. "And I didn't want to admit that being good at something could also make you complicit." I nodded slowly. "I know the feeling." She looked at me with something like gratitude. Or relief. "One night," she continued, "I told him I was done. He laughed. Said nobody was ever done with him. I believed him. And then I made my own mistake. A big one." The air in the room shifted. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. "What kind of mistake?" "The kind you don't come back from," she said. "I took something." "Stole?" "Yes." "What?" Her jaw tightened. "Evidence." I waited. Let her sit in the space she'd made. Vance kept files on people, politicians, judges, donors, anyone with power. Insurance, he called it. Leverage. All of it illegal. I found out he was planning to use it to ruin someone who had no idea what was coming. "So you stopped him?" "I tried." "Tried how?" "I took the file," she said. "The one he needed most. And I ran." I exhaled slowly. "You have it with you?" "No," she said. "I hid it." "Where?" "I'll tell you," she said, "but not yet." "Who's after you?" "His men. 2 of them. One I recognize. The other." I only heard his voice. "They found my apartment 2 nights ago. And they tore it apart. I didn't go back." "Anyone hurt?" "I don't know," she said. I didn't wait to find out. The house creaked softly under a shifting board. We both glanced at the ceiling. Habit, not fear. But the air changed again. Thickened. "You think they'll come here?" I said. "I know they will. And you brought that to my doorstep." "I didn't have another." She hesitated. "And I didn't think you'd turn me away." "I didn't." "No," she said quietly. "You didn't." Her voice carried gratitude and guilt in equal measure. Heavy things to hold in one breath. "What's in the file?" I asked. "Names," she said. "Documents. Something that connects him to money he shouldn't have. And someone he shouldn't have been near." "Who?" She hesitated too long. Far too long. "Who?" I repeated. She swallowed. "Your brother." The words landed like a fist to the ribs. I sat back hard in my chair, pulse rising fast and hot. "My brother's dead," I said. "I know." "Then what could Vance want with him?" "He didn't want him," she said. "He used him." The room felt suddenly smaller. "Explain," I said. She closed her eyes. "Your brother was framed. Years ago. Before he died. Vance was behind it. The file proves it." Silence hit the room like a blow. Even the wind outside seemed to hold still. I stared at her. She held my gaze, though I could see the effort it cost. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked. "Because I wasn't sure how you'd react." "How do you think I'm reacting?" "Better than expected." I stood and walked to the window. The ocean was calm, but that calm felt wrong. False. She stayed seated, watching me with something I couldn't name. "You knew him," I said. "I did. And you kept this from me." "I had to. Not until I was sure the file was real. And now I know it is." I exhaled through my teeth. The truth felt jagged. "You should have told me." "I'm telling you now." Footsteps outside shifted on wet gravel. Both of our heads snapped toward the sound. Not the storm. Not the wind. Not memory. Real footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. She went pale. You expecting someone? I asked. She shook her head once. The footsteps stopped just beyond the porch. A shadow crossed the frosted glass of the front door. She whispered, "He found me." And the knock came, soft, polite, deadly. Chapter 4. A visitor in the rain. The knock didn't echo. It slipped into the house like a cold draft. Soft, almost courteous, but with the confident weight of someone who expected to be answered. I watched her face as the sound settled between us. She wasn't afraid in the way most people look afraid. It was deeper, older, like she'd met this moment in her sleep long before it arrived. Another knock. Same quiet patience. "Stay here," I told her. She shook her head. "He'll hurt you." "Let him try." "I mean it." "So do I." I stepped toward the front door, slow enough to listen to every creak in the floorboards. The house gave nothing away. No hint of who waited outside. Only the steady rhythm of the ocean rolling in behind the fog. At the door, I paused and looked back at her. She stood rigid beside the table, hands gripping the chair like she needed the anchor. "Lock the back door," I said. "And you?" "I'll handle this." The shadow on the frosted glass shifted as if the man outside adjusted his stance. He wasn't nervous, just bored. The kind of boredom that comes from knowing you're already in control. I opened the door halfway. A tall man in a soaked gray coat stood on the porch. Water dripped from his hat brim. He had the sort of calm face that made you search for the cruelty beneath it. And you always found it. He looked me over with eyes the color of old metal. "Morning," he said. "You're early," I replied. "For what?" "Whatever you think you came for." He smiled slightly, like my answer amused him. "I'm looking for someone." "You're not finding anyone here." He lifted his chin and glanced past me, trying to look inside. "You live alone?" he asked. "Most days." "Today too?" "Always." He studied my face, deciding whether I was lying. I kept my breath steady, the way I learned long ago. Never give a man like this free information. "Mind if I step in?" he asked, though the question was only a courtesy for form's sake. "I do," I said. He nodded once, as though he respected the directness. But he didn't step back. "Her name is Mara," he said quietly. I didn't flinch. Never heard it. "That's interesting," he said, adjusting the brim of his hat. "Because she stayed in this house once. A long time ago. That doesn't mean she's here now." "No," he agreed. "But she's near." He leaned against the porch post, taking a small metal case from his pocket. "Cigarettes." He lit one with a match that hissed in the wet air. "You smoke?" he asked. "Not anymore." "Shame. The weather's good for it." The rain had slowed to a drizzle. A faint static in the air told me more would be coming. "What do you want?" I asked. He exhaled smoke in a slow ribbon. "The truth. That's a word men like you usually break before breakfast." He chuckled. "Fair enough. Let's say I want her company. She doesn't want yours. Doesn't matter what she wants. It matters here." He studied me again, this time more seriously. "You're protecting her. I'm protecting my home." "That's not how she tells it." He flicked ash off the side of the porch, thoughtful. "Is she inside?" he asked. "No." "Then you won't mind if I take a look." "I do mind," I said. "And you're not stepping over that threshold." His cigarette burned low. He let the silence draw itself tight. "You're making this more difficult than it needs to be," he said. "That's my specialty." He sighed, slipped the cigarette but into his pocket. Careful, controlled. Men who save their trash usually save worse things too. "Tell her," he said, "that Vance wants his property returned. Tell her she's out of time. And tell her the second man with me isn't as patient as I am." "And you are." "Very," he said. "But patience doesn't last forever." He tipped his hat, stepped off the porch, and walked down the gravel path without looking back. His boots made a steady, confident rhythm. The storm swallowed him as he disappeared into the fog. I closed the door and locked it. She emerged from the hallway. Her face had gone paler than when the chapter began. "That was him?" I asked. "No," she said. "That was the patient one. The other is worse." "Good. Good." She stared at me. "Now I know what we're dealing with." She moved toward the window, careful not to be seen from outside. Her breath came shallow. "He'll be back," she whispered. "I'm counting on it." She faced me then, eyes full of something raw, not fear exactly, but the knowledge of how far this had already gone. "You shouldn't be involved." "I already am." "You don't have to be." "Yes," I said quietly, "I do." She shook her head as if she didn't want to understand the weight of that answer. But she did. "What now?" she asked. "We talk," I said. "All of it." Everything you didn't say yesterday. She swallowed hard. You won't like it. I don't like any of this. She gave a thin, fragile half-smile. Fair. We moved back to the kitchen. The storm light through the windows made the room look older. Almost abandoned. She sat again at the table. I remained standing. Tell me, I said. She pressed her palms together and breathed deep. I didn't just take the file, she said. I copied it. I stared at her. You what? I thought it would be safer. Insurance. Against who? Against everyone. I rubbed a hand across my jaw. A cold heaviness settled in my gut. Where's the copy? She looked down. Hidden. Where? In a place I can't reach now. I stepped closer. Mara. She lifted her eyes. If I tell you, you become part of it. You'll be hunted too. I'm already hunted. Yes, she said softly. Because of me. Footsteps again. Not outside. Above us. On the second floor. Slow. Heavy. We both froze. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. He brought the other one.